So agar is a sugar gel, and you could have it solidify on the very bottom of a circular plate, or you could have it solidify inside of a test tube. In particular, you can have it solidify on a slant, so that when it's a liquid, you pour it in, you slant the test tube, and then the agar dries like that, and that gives you what's called an agar slant. And you can spread microbes on these agar slants. Notice in person, this is what it would look like. Even when it stands up, the slant remains because it's hardened that way. And when you deal with these test tubes, you want to label them at the very top, far away from the slant itself. Make sure you put your initials, the number that tells you which microbe you're dealing with, and the date that you inoculated this slant, that you spread bacteria on it. Now, the first type of inoculation we want to talk about on a slant is called a fishtail inoculation of a slant. So you take the loop, and one thing you want to notice about this loop is how big the circle is at the head of the loop. So you're going to take just a little bit of the inoculant, just a tiny bit, and reach down into the agar, and you don't want to pierce the agar. Just on the surface of the agar, you're going to go in a zigzag motion like a fishtail and spread the inoculant on the agar that way. So live, that would look like this, just taking a tiny bit. Notice the size of the loop at the end, the size of the circle at the end of this loop. A note about the loop: use the loop immediately after taking it out of the bag. Don't take it out and have a conversation. In that time, the loop will become contaminated. So that yellow loop, use that immediately after you take it out. You unscrew the test tube. You put the loop inside. You don't pierce the agar, you just go in a smooth zigzag motion on the surface of the agar. That's a fishtail inoculation of that agar slant. Now, a second type of inoculation of an agar slant is a stab and fishtail inoculation. And notice here in the loop at the top right, the circle at the end of that loop is much smaller. That's going to make it firmer, more sturdy, and better able to stab the gel. So take that loop. Here's a comparison of that loop with the loop that you would use for a normal fishtail. So notice at the bottom you have the stab and fishtail loop. That's a smaller circle at the end. And by the way, you would never, ever put these loops on a table. That was just there for demonstration before being immediately thrown away. You use the loops immediately after taking them out. Don't even let them sit in the air for a few seconds. Immediately after you take them out from their storage container, use them. So you take that loop, get a tiny bit of the inoculant onto the end of the loop, and now we're going to go into the gel and pierce the gel. It's going to go to the very bottom of the gel in the test tube. And then the inoculant that we put there is not going to be exposed to oxygen. So we're going to see if the microbe is able to grow in those anoxic, or without oxygen, conditions. After you pierce, come up and spread the inoculant in a fishtail, that smooth zigzag pattern on the surface of the gel. So you have that pierce to the very bottom and the smooth fishtail zigzag on the surface of the gel. So live, this is what that looks like. Take a tiny, tiny bit of inoculant to put on the loop, and we're using this loop immediately after taking it out. Unscrew the test tube, put this inside. Notice how it's going to pierce to the very bottom of the gel. Take it out, and on the surface, do a smooth zigzag fishtail inoculation. Immediately close the test tube, and that's how you would do a stab and fishtail inoculation of an agar slant.